Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Sometimes you look at a man and you think he's pulling away. You think he's dodging your calls, taking forever to text back, or acting like he just vanished into thin air. But hold on now, before you jump to conclusions. Because if a man does this, he's not avoiding you. He might just be in love. Real love sometimes looks like hesitation, not avoidance. Because when a man's feelings grow deeper than he expected, he steps into emotional territory he's not always equipped to navigate smoothly. A man might pull back not because he's disinterested, but because he's suddenly aware that what he feels is bigger than the casual connections he may have known before. Love brings weight, responsibility, and vulnerability. It asks him to show up honestly, to risk being hurt, and to care in a way that exposes the softer parts of himself. Many men aren't raised to handle those feelings openly, so when love hits, it can feel overwhelming. Instead of rushing forward recklessly, he slows down. He thinks. He evaluates. He questions whether he is good enough, stable enough, or ready enough. This pause from the outside can look like avoidance, but internally it is a sign of respect. He doesn't want to mishandle something meaningful. When a man realizes he's falling for someone, he becomes more aware of his actions, his behavior, and his future. He starts imagining what life could look like with this person, and that envisioned desire to prepare himself to get his life aligned with the kind of partner he wants to be. That preparation often requires space. Not distance driven by rejection, but distance driven by reflection. He might sit quietly thinking about his finances, his career, his emotional readiness, or even his past mistakes. He doesn't want to hurt someone he cares about, so he slows down to make sure his next steps are intentional. Love, to him, is not just a feeling. It's a responsibility he doesn't take lightly. Hesitation also appears because love softens him in ways he doesn't always understand. Suddenly, every word she says matters. Every gesture she makes lingers. Every moment they share feels significant. That level of emotional intensity can scare a man who isn't used to being deeply connected. He might worry about saying the wrong thing or moving too fast. He might fear losing control of his emotions or depending on someone more than he planned. This fear doesn't mean he wants to walk away. It simply means he needs a moment to steady himself before stepping deeper into the relationship. The truth is, men often show their strongest feelings not through bold declarations, but through thoughtful pauses. Those hesitations are signs that he acknowledges the importance of what he's feeling. He wants to protect it, nurture it, and approach it with clarity instead of impulse. A man who doesn't care may disappear without explanation, but a man who hesitates cares deeply. So deeply that he wants to move carefully, not carelessly. His hesitation is the quiet confession of a heart learning how to love without losing itself, and that subtle shift from fear to intention reveals the depth of his true affection. Men often retreat to process feelings, not to reject someone, because emotional depth requires internal organization, and many men have never been taught how to navigate their inner world in real time. When a man begins developing strong feelings for someone, it can stir up emotions that feel unfamiliar or intense. His instinct, shaped by years of social conditioning, is often to step back rather than express everything immediately. This retreat is not a sign of disinterest. In fact, more often than not, it is a sign that what he feels is important enough for him to handle with caution. A man who doesn't care, no need to process anything, he simply moves on. But a man who steps back to think is showing that he wants to approach the connection with intention, not impulse. The retreat often happens because love triggers self-reflection. A man might ask himself, am I ready for this? Can I give her what she needs? Am I enough? These questions are not signs of insecurity. They are signs of responsibility. He is assessing not the value of the person he cares for, but his ability to protect and sustain the relationship. For many men, love is tied to the desire to provide stability, whether emotional, financial, or practical. When those feelings surface, he retreats to evaluate his life, his readiness, and what he needs to adjust to show up fully. This introspective can easily be mistaken for avoidance, especially if it is not communicated clearly, but internally it is a moment of alignment. Another reason men retreat when falling in love is the overwhelming nature of vulnerability. Love opens doors inside a man that he may have kept locked for years. It exposes soft spots, past wounds, and emotional needs he may not have acknowledged. Confronting those feelings requires solitude. This solitude is not rejection. It is emotional maintenance. He needs space to understand what he is feeling, to make sense of the emotional shift, and to assure himself that what he's experiencing is safe and real. He pulls back not to leave, but to stabilize. The retreat can also be a way for him to think about the future. A man in love doesn't just consider the moment. He considers what comes next. He pictures commitment, shared responsibilities, long-term partnership, and the ways his life might change. These thoughts can be heavy, even when they are beautiful. He wants to be sure he's ready to walk into that future with clarity rather than confusion. The quiet moments he takes are him building confidence in his decisions, ensuring he moves forward intentionally. When a man retreats to process his feelings, he is demonstrating depth, not distance. He is showing that the person he cares about matters enough for him to pause, reflect, and understand himself better before stepping forward. It is in this thoughtful retreat that love grows its roots, not in avoidance, but in preparation, maturity, and genuine emotional awareness. Consistent actions reveal affection more than perfect words, because real love is not built on speeches or grand statements. It is built on the small, steady, reliable behaviors that show where a person's heart truly rests. A man may not always have the right words ready, especially when he's nervous or unsure how to express deeper emotions, but his actions will speak the truth long before his mouth ever does. When a man is in love, you'll notice it in the patterns he creates rather than the promises he makes. He will show up, he will remember the little things, and he will make an effort even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Love for him becomes something he does, not something he rehearses. Anyone can say, I care. But the man who proves it through consistency is the one whose feelings run deeper than his vocabulary. In relationships, it's easy to get caught up in what someone says, especially when words can be charming, poetic, or reassuring. But words alone can be deceptive. They can be impulsive, emotionally charged, or influenced by the moment. Actions, however, require intention. A man who consistently chooses to be present, to listen, to support, and to prioritize someone is revealing a truth. Even he may not fully understand yet that his heart is invested. He may not declare love after the first date or describe his feelings in perfect emotional language. But he will show you through the rhythm of his behavior that you matter. He keeps promises, even the small ones. He follows through with effort that doesn't fade after the initial excitement. He remembers what you said weeks ago, not because he tried to memorize it, but because it genuinely mattered to him. Those patterns are the real language of love. Consistency also shows courage. It's easy for someone to make temporary gestures of affection when everything is light and carefree. It's harder to show up repeatedly during stressful days, busy weeks, or moments when life feels overwhelming. A man who keeps acting with care, even when he is tired, distracted, or unsure of himself, is revealing a deeper layer of commitment. He is saying through his actions, "I'm here, even when life is not easy." Love grows strongest in the ordinary days, when he chooses you in the quiet moments, not just the romantic ones. Every action builds trust, and trust becomes the foundation of emotional security. Another important truth is that consistent actions show emotional presence. A man in love might not always express himself emotionally or verbally in the way society expects, but he will be present in ways that matter. He checks in on you without being asked. He looks for ways to make your life easier. He considers your feelings in his decisions, and he treats you with a level of respect and care that remains steady over time. His consistency is not always loud, but it is unmistakably sincere. It's in the way he makes time, the way he listens, the way he adjusts, the way he supports you even when you don't realize you need support. His heart shows itself not in dramatic announcements, but in the quiet, repeated choices he makes every day. Ultimately, consistent actions are the clearest window into a man's true intentions because they come from habit, not impulse, from sincerity, not performance. Words may come and go, but behavior, steady, reliable, thoughtful behavior, reveals the real depth of his feelings. When a man loves, his actions will show it long before he ever finds the courage or confidence to say it out loud. Vulnerability can make a man appear distant when he actually cares deeply, because opening his heart exposes parts of himself he may have kept guarded for years. Many men grow up being told to be strong, to hide emotions, to keep feelings private, and to never show weakness. So when love enters the picture, it challenges all those ingrained beliefs. Suddenly, he feels things he can't control: hope, fear, excitement, insecurity, and the possibility of loss. These emotions collide inside him, and the safest thing his mind knows how to do is step back and create space. That space isn't rejection, it's protection. He's trying to guard his heart while figuring out whether it's safe to let someone in completely. Vulnerability is new territory for a lot of men, and they often need time alone to understand how to handle it. When a man cares deeply, he becomes aware of how much he has to lose. Before love, he may have lit emotional walls high enough to shield him from disappointment. But when someone meaningful enters his life, those walls start to crack. He begins to imagine a future, to attach emotions to moments, to picture what life could look like with this person. That level of emotional investment can be overwhelming. He might worry about being hurt, about not being enough, or about failing in ways he can't fix. These fears often make him pull back temporarily, not because he wants distance, but because he's trying to stabilize his emotions before stepping forward again. Vulnerability feels risky, and stepping back helps him manage that risk until he feels secure. Another reason vulnerability can look like distance is that men often struggle to express emotional complexity directly. When feelings get intense, they don't always talk about it, they internalize. A man who cares deeply may retreat into silence because he's processing what he feels and how to communicate it. He might be scared of saying the wrong thing, showing too much too soon, or revealing emotions he doesn't fully understand yet. These quiet moments are not indifference. They are internal conversations, battles between fear and desire, between caution and connection. He cares so much that he wants to get his words and actions right, even if it takes him some time. Vulnerability also brings a shift in behavior. A man who starts falling in love might act differently without even realizing it. He may become more protective, more thoughtful, or more observant, yet at the same time more guarded with his own emotions. This duality can be confusing. He leans in with actions, but pulls back with words. That tug of war is not avoidance, it's growth. He's learning how to love without losing himself, and how to open up without feeling exposed. It's a delicate balance that sometimes the only way he knows how to maintain it is by creating brief emotional space. When a man truly cares, vulnerability doesn't weaken him. It transforms, and that transformation can momentarily make him seem distant. But beneath that distance is a heart trying to figure out how to love bravely, honestly, and fully. A man in love creates space to plan, improve, and protect what he values, because love, for him, isn't just an emotion he feels in the moment. It's a future he starts preparing for. When his feelings deepen, he begins to think beyond the excitement and intimacy of the present. He starts looking at his life through a wider lens, asking questions about stability, responsibility, and long-term commitment. This shift doesn't always look romantic on the surface. In fact, it often looks like he's stepping back or becoming quieter. But inside, he's building a structure strong enough to hold the weight of real love. That internal planning requires space. Space to think, to evaluate, to adjust, and to strengthen whatever needs improvement. A man who loves deeply starts considering how his choices affect not just himself, but the woman he cares about, and the potential future they might share. He looks at his finances, his goals, his habits, and even his weaknesses. He knows that love brings expectations, security, consistency, emotional presence. So he naturally begins assessing whether he can meet those expectations. This is not retreating from love. It is preparing for it. He wants to be a man who contributes to peace, stability, and trust, not chaos or uncertainty. So he takes time to plan how he can be the partner she deserves. That planning might mean working harder, saving more, changing unhealthy patterns, or letting go of things that no longer serve him. It may even mean reflecting on his past and identifying mistakes he refuses to repeat. Space also allows him to grow. Love pushes a man to become a better version of himself because he sees someone worth improving for. He becomes aware of his temper, his communication style, his emotional limits, and his strengths. When he steps back, he's often working through these things privately, figuring out how to communicate better, how to show affection more consistently, how to build emotional maturity, or how to overcome the fears that hold him back. Love motivates him to level up, but growth doesn't happen in noise. It happens in quiet moments of honesty with himself. That space is where he becomes the man he wants to be before stepping fully into the relationship he hopes to build. Protection is another reason he creates space. When a man loves, he instinctively wants to shield the relationship from harm, whether that harm comes from his own past, external influences, or unresolved issues. He might take time to distance himself from negative environments or unhealthy people. He may reflect on old wounds to avoid letting them spill into the present. He might even worry about rushing in too fast and damaging something meaningful. So he steps back just to ensure he is grounded, clear-headed, and ready to protect what is developing between them. His space is not a barrier. It is a safeguard. He is making sure that when he shows up with intention, strength, and reliability. A man who creates space when he loves is not pulling away. He is preparing the ground, strengthening himself, and securing the future of something he values more than he knows how to say. Genuine commitment shows up in responsibility, consistency, and emotional honesty because love, now this word isn't proven in one grand moment, but in the steady character a person brings into a relationship day after day. When a man is truly committed, he doesn't rely on convenience or charm. Instead, he relies on reliability, accountability, and truth. He understands that real love isn't maintained by promises alone. It thrives on the actions that support those promises. Not yet met, commitment becomes visible in the way he handles obligations, keeps his word, shows up when he's needed, and invests effort even when it's difficult. He knows that loving someone is not just about how he feels, but about how he behaves. Responsibility becomes the backbone of his affection because he recognizes that the relationship is something he must nurture, protect, and contribute to continuously. A man who is genuinely committed understands that consistency is not a temporary performance, but a lifestyle. He doesn't fluctuate between affection and distance. He doesn't disappear when life gets hectic or when emotions get complicated. Instead, he stays steady. He makes time even when he's busy, communicates even when he's tired, and prioritizes the relationship even when it would be easier to coast. Consistency is how he proves that his love is not driven by convenience or mood, but by intention. He doesn't need reminders to care. He cares because it's who he chooses to be. His patterns become dependable. His texts, his calls, his presence, his concern. He becomes a safe place, perfect. But because he shows up the same way with sincerity, even on the days he struggles internally. Emotional honesty is another hallmark of genuine commitment, and it's often the hardest one for a man to show. Many men grow up learning to suppress emotions, but when he commits, he begins to break that barrier. He starts sharing fears, hopes, insecurities, and dreams. Not because it's easy, but because he wants the relationship to be real, not surface level. He opens up about what bothers him instead of shutting down. He expresses affection instead of assuming it's understood. He admits mistakes instead of hiding behind pride. This emotional honesty builds trust, and trust becomes the glue that holds commitment together. A committed man knows the importance of transparency because he understands that secrets and silence create distance, while honesty creates closeness. Responsibility, consistency, and emotional honesty also show his respect for the relationship. He doesn't see love as a temporary arrangement, but as a partnership he must actively participate in. He starts planning the future, not just the moment. He becomes intentional with his decisions because he knows they affect someone he values. He learns to communicate not to win arguments, but to protect the bond. He becomes yet patient, more thoughtful, and more aware of how his actions shape the relationship's emotional climate. His commitment is visible not in dramatic gestures, but in the quiet, daily choices he makes. Choices rooted in loyalty, love, and integrity. A man who shows responsibility, consistency, and emotional honesty is not just in love. He is invested. He is building something stable, meaningful, and lasting with deliberate effort and genuine heart.